I keep wanting to call this Hell Night, but it's not. Hey, I'm Amy and welcome back. As many of you know, because I talk about it so much, I am not a huge fan of horror movies. But since it is October, it is the time for scare, and I have been stepping outside my comfort zone a lot more recently, especially with this channel, and I've become a lot more interested in horror movies, especially lately, especially since starting this channel. I thought, why not get into the Halloween spirit with the first review of October being Hellfest. It's an interesting movie. It's a surprising movie to me. I did not think that I would like this. The trailers looked kind of dumb. They just did not look like it would be the best movie in the world, which this is not the best movie in the world, but it's also really not that bad. And that's coming from someone who really does not like horror movies. So I have a lot to say about this. I have a lot of thoughts. Let's just get started. Like I said before, I am not a huge fan of horror movies, but I had heard great things about this. I heard it was getting pretty good reviews. Not like outstanding, but it was getting decent reviews. Maybe a 75%-ish at best. So I was like, you know what? Might as well go and see it. And overall, it feels a lot like a old school slasher movie. It pulls a lot from Halloween, and also a little bit from Scream, where it sets up the first kill for just right away, just a kill straight off the bat, and it sets up the final girl in kind of a similar way to the way they set the final girl up for both Scream and pretty much for any typical slasher movie, which you all know if you watch my channel and you listen to me talk about horror all the time, or when I talk about horror, I love a good slasher movie. So I was really pleased with the way they set it up, but the characters just didn't quite cut it for me. Before, okay, I'm gonna take it back a little bit. The best way for me to describe how I feel about this movie is this movie feels very much like what it is. It feels, or very much like its subject. It feels like you are going through one of those mazes at a horror theme park, like Halloween Horror Nights or Not Scary Farm, something similar to that. And please bear with me because I have some reasons for saying this. First off, the characters are very one-dimensional. There is not a whole lot of shape to them, and I want to do a spoiler review on this, or I want to put a little bit of spoilers in this because there are some thoughts I have that may spoil a little bit of it. Like the final girl. To me, it feels like she flip-flops a little bit in this, and it may seem like she's got some dimension to her, like her character is building a little bit, or maybe she's kind of evolving and kind of going through her full character arc, but to me, it really just, she kind of bobbled back and forth between these two different personas, and it just felt a little off to me. But at the same time, when you're going through a haunted horror maze like this, you really don't get much more dimension in any of the characters or the scares throughout the maze. So the characters in the movie are very much like the characters in a scare maze. The other way I can relate this to a haunted house maze is the fact that you can go around a corner and expect a scare. You know it's coming, or you can walk down a hallway and you can see that a scare is coming, and it does. It comes, it jumps right out at you. But other times you can think a scare is coming, but then it doesn't, and it was just a fake out, and that's what happens in this movie. I think personally that they did that in a very interesting fashion. They did it really well, and the director really built tension up very well using this method. There were a lot of really great fake outs and a lot of really fun switches throughout the entire movie. It kind of kept you really entertained, wanting to go see what was going to happen next. That being said, the 1D-ness of the characters just, when I say 1D-ness, it feels like I'm talking about One Direction. The one-dimensionalness of the characters kind of dampened that a little bit for me. And I saw some people saying that they really did not understand why the killer was stalking this group of friends. And honestly, I I feel like they set that up very well in probably the first 30 minutes. Like once the group of friends gets to the park and then the killer gets to the park, you see his motives. You see and you understand why he is stalking this specific group of kids. It's set up earlier on why he's stalking them, and I don't want to give it away. If you want me to do a spoiler review of this, please let me know. I may just do one anyways and put it up on my Patreon for all $+ patrons, because I have so much to talk about with this. I did end up having a lot of fun with this, and I want to talk about the main girl, the final girl, and also kind of a little bit more in depth into some of the scares and some of the fake outs and the slasher overall that I would love to hear other people's thoughts on, that I've talked to coworkers and friends about, but I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. So let me know if you want me to do a spoiler review. I briefly mentioned the tension that the director built up, I think really well, and a lot of that was helped by the score of this movie. It is a very great score. It keeps you tense, it keeps you on your toes. And the killer in this is also really great as well, because there are signs that you can tell that it's him, especially when there are some switches and fakes, because, I mean, that's a slight spoiler, but it's going to happen. It's just, I'm not going to say when or where it happens. It's really great how you think one thing's going to happen, but it doesn't. There are a couple very small nitpicky things that I do have issues with. The slasher in this, they put him on a trajectory of the reason why he is stalking this group of teens and, well, I guess college kids really, and why he stalks all of them, but they don't show him they do show him kind of specifically going after the final girl, but when they've showed him and set up his character and why he does this, why he goes after these specific people, which I do kind of have a little thing about people saying that they don't really set up why this guy is doing this. Michael Myers, you don't really know why he's killing people. He's just killing people at random. He has no real rhyme or reason. Same with Freddy. He just jumps into people's dreams and kills a bunch of teenagers. And same with Jason, although Jason is really more on the sexually active teens, but then he does go after some of the more, well, the final girls are more of the celibate girls, but Jason has a really he goes after the sexually active teens. Same thing with Michael a little bit. Same thing with really pretty much any slasher, but they do focus on the final girl, who is usually the celibate one, the one who kind of keeps to herself, is not like overtly sexualized or anything like that, and that is prevalent in this movie, and it's prevalent in Halloween and Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. It's prevalent in all of those because that is the final girl motif. But at the same time, you don't understand why any of those killers, why any of those slashers choose that specific group of teens. I guess, well, okay, I keep taking my stuff back, but I guess Nightmare on Elm Street, it was because Freddy was killed in the basement, but at the same time, he's kind of in... Okay, so yeah, okay, so with Nightmare and Friday the 13th, you do kind of know why the slashers are going after these group of kids. It's because they are like at the camp, or because their parents were the ones that killed him. But in Halloween, Michael really has nothing to do with Laurie Strode or her friends. He just sees Laurie walking down the street and decides to stalk her and kill all of her and her friends. In this, it's kind of the same thing. He has this reason for going after kids, and then in the end, not in the end, but he sees this girl and her group of friends and decides to go after them because they have the reason why, it's kind of hard for me to say this without spoiling anything, but the reason why he goes after and stalks all the people and kills them, they have that reason for him. So there's that. And I kind of feel like I lost my train of thought. Okay, yeah, I know where I was going with this. The killer has a specific reason why he's going after this group of kids and why he has done all this, and they show him building up to that in a certain way throughout the beginning of the movie before he starts to go after this group. But then there's a part where it goes a little weird with the relationship between the slasher and the final girl, and I feel like it's just slightly weird that he kind of takes a liking to her in this weird way, and it didn't feel quite like a slasher to me at that point. So that was a little weird to me, but you see the point in the movie where that happens, and it gets a little weird, but it's its own movie. It's not supposed to be Halloween or Nightmare or Friday or anything like that. So I can give it that. It does sort of set up for a sequel at the end, or maybe make it into a series, which I could see them doing, but this movie I think really did a great job being a standalone just by itself. So if they do make this into a series, I probably will end up going to see some more if they are as good as this one. Well, I wouldn't say as good as this one, as fun as this one, but if not, I'm okay with this just being a standalone. It was really great by itself. So I think if everything makes sense, that is all I have for this movie, and now it is time for the score, which, as you guys know, I usually do a rewatch score, and sometimes I'll give you a number score if I don't feel like it matches up with the score that I'm giving it for rewatchability, which this time it does not. It is not a bad movie for me, but it's also not an amazing movie, and this is coming from someone, like I said, who does not like horror movies. So number score, I would give this like a 3.5 out of 5 stars, but rewatchability score for me is definitely adding it to my collection. As soon as I got out of this movie, I wanted to watch it again. I passed by a theater that was playing it, and they were probably only, I would say, like 45 minutes in, and I almost snuck into that theater just to watch it again, but I had stuff to do, so I left. It was really fun. I thought it was really, really fun, but it is like not a masterpiece. It is not Halloween. It's not Friday the 13th. It is not Nightmare on Elm Street. It's just a fun slasher movie that I kind of wanted. I kind of needed something like that, getting me ready for not only the Halloween season, but also getting me ready for Halloween coming out in a couple weeks. That is pretty much everything I have. Let me know if you saw Hellfest, what you thought in the comments down below. I know it is kind of split between some people, but I really enjoyed myself. But thank you guys so much for watching. Truly, truly appreciate every single one of you. Let me know who you are in the comments down below, and let's be friends. If you enjoyed this, leave a like and subscribe if you're new, because I love talking all things movies, TV shows, filmmaking, film history, all that fun stuff, and I'll see you next time. Bye!